Workplace context. Could you please tell me about your current position and your main responsibility? Okay, I was taken in charge of basically two courses. First one is the BA with the Thai student, and the second one is the a semi international course for cultural design art perspective for PhD student. So most of our student is like 20 or 30% are Thai and the other 70% are Chinese. Okay, so the question number two. ไม่เห็นได้เลย Okay, so actually this project I got sponsored by the Ministry of Education and Research by itself, aka Tacha. So what we are doing here is like we giving a proper transformation, the transition of how the royal monarchy have developed themselves as to to catch up with the social network trend. The third one, เสียงอะไรวะ เฟิร์สส่งที่ไหน
เวลาส่วนตัวครับ
ชื่ออะไรเอ่ย
อันแรกเลยครับอันแรกเลยดี
Okay, so what we got here is like a monumental of the Gosapan, who is like the biggest ambassador of the Thai kingdom, who have a best deal for us from the British. However, if we considering like the whole context of the Gosapan, maybe some of them they said that they are doing some writing which is like normally to be considered as a modern welfare of the Thai alphabet. However, if you're looking into like the origin of the words, you can see that it's actually could come from the living aspect. For example, like bed or the table. That, however, there's the kids or the son who would love to have a record, they would do it there. So what do you think of like making a white background, a white highlight of every fun things? Of course, it's maybe it could be more like to be more close to each other all the time being. However, this course are like the implementation was like something differently. So what we're doing here is more like it it was very very nice to me that you have a good design. However, with the design, you supposed to tell the community that how will you develop the design into an experiment, which is a fully priority of your task of the semester. เอาไอ้เหี้ยมันดับไปกลางทาง
จบไอ้เฟิร์สโอเคเราเป็นอีก
ไม่เป็นไรไม่เป็นไร อันนี้เดี๋ยวแม่ทำของเฟิร์สต่อ However, this is most of my roles of the courses I was belong to. We in one pieces we act like the academic assistant professor. However, when we do it like in personally, in practically, we always have a chance of like of a one goal plan. First ข้ออื่นๆยังไง
ข้ออื่นนี่ครับ
Okay, the third one. And the second one, the use of English as work. Well, since we are doing like a semi-international courses, which is mean like we are willing to accept the expat or the student visa holder who actually doesn't have a work permit. So by the course we're doing here, actually if they're very developed, incubate the idea into a project, we can actually make an implementation or the work permit for them. Well, however, what we actually have here is more like they're doing like a very good writing in the first half in the abstract or in the significance of the problem. However, when they like develop the whole idea into the process, it's always be like leaking. This is like the role of the university to be take a charge of. So yeah, this is like what we're doing here. Of course, some of them, like some of my colleagues, they're trying real hard to make their English perfect. But in my case, it's more like like I'm from India, and it's like we doesn't very have like how do we say it? Like a costume or a custom cops who like giving like a proper how to say like a manual, a steps how to develop things throughout the time beings. So in one sense, this is more like a workplace context, in my opinion. So the third language is like language choices and corporate outcome. Well, this is like very easy. Most of the Thai organization who work like in some deep level with a foreign company, we will somehow find it like like when the end of the year came, we do a tax thing, and we finally find like they also need like one of these. And however, the artists like they are so great, but the norm, the kid, they didn't very like appreciate it. They didn't know more. So basically, what we're doing here is more like like to organize with the how we do with the things, with the cues and more suitable reasons, and we try real hard how to incubate the idea into the next project. Okay, then number 4, the intellectual differences. Well, if you're looking for an intellectual at the WEF, the WELF, you will find somehow like it's totally a very different concept of experience. So like in my experience, what we're doing here, normally when I discuss my like work program with my foreign expat friends, they will have some sort of like of personality. Like as a white people, they're doing something, when they think of something, they like does not hesitate to share it. Well, this is like totally different story when you look it into the BA teacher team. So just got it out, right? So the international references, well, most like from my opinion, from my experience, like when we're doing like a class with inner student, normally we doesn't really like expect the student to be like so great in languages. They should be like very proper communicate skills. But what we do here is like we incubated the phase or in behalf of the situation, that later they can develop it as the as the experiences within like the chance that we have a research team into community. However, what they are able to do here is more like they can arrange the broken English into like a well form of communication, which could lead it to be to interact with a larger crowd, which I think this is more likely a very interesting situation. Number 5, the focus in English communication in your workplace. Do people focus more on grammar, or they are like very strict with how the grammar is work, right? So we are basically not the English language department, so most of the time we do whatever communicates with or making interaction with our student basically is a broken English, like super broken. Number 6, the critical incidents. Well, I'm not sure this is I'm not sure that I will be able to to share this thing, but normally I think most of the problem of here we have, it would be with the Thai student. Let me give you a briefly example. It's like a few months ago we have a field trip to Japan, to Osaka, and then we have an agenda that, well, like at one night we will do the think tank. Well, when we mention the think tank, normally we mean it's like a brainstorm event. However, some students, I'm not sure why, but they're actually thinking the think tank program by name only. They didn't see like the schedule, the agenda, like the document. However, they somehow image this event as the thanking ceremony, so they keep giving the like the sweet word to the professor, which make us as a staff member of the crew member of the course feel a little bit uncomfortable. But for repair student team, we just we just tell them directly, because this doesn't, we're not allowed department, so this doesn't really make much effect. However, it was once of a very good example, and we also learn from that. It's very good for us. The outcome and the reflection, what ultimately help resolve the situation and look back what could have been done differently to prevent the misunderstanding. Well, to be honest, this one question I have zero answer for you guys. Sorry, but if you ask me what can we do here, it would be more like like we should give them agenda instead of like a briefly schedule. Number 10, successful wealth communication. Well, I'm one of the guys who fully support the idea that we like in the second world country or in Southeast Asia, what we should do is with English language is more with the communication aspects rather than the grammatically correction. So well, some of us there who are aiming to be like a world class writer, I give my 100% of my admiration to them. However, with my own experience, how do we say, it's more like if we are able to communication, this is more than enough, because it's not only you or some of us who to try to perfect the grammar, but normally there are plenty of people who like taking a course, they want to learn something else, but the English language, that language is more like a tool. So in my opinion, it doesn't really matter if you need the perfect grammar or not, but as long as you will be able to communicate with people, well, you have like more than 80% to success your task. The 11th, the question number 11 is like, what skill or personal quality do you think most important for communication? Well, I don't have like like proper or professional aspect here, but what do I have is more like the skill that the soft skill that you are able to communicate with people, some sort of like the way of transition, the meaning of what you have, and to make it like positively attach people, and by that only that can make a good bonding and make the whole classes how to going on. So I think it would be more in the attitude rather than the skills. Okay, and that's all. Thanks.